are listening to the B2B Marketing Mindset with Pete Monfre and Bill Lowell. We want to help demystify marketing to reduce risk, drive more and better opportunities, and grow your business. Are you ready to master marketing?
Oh, Bill, I wish you could hear the music. These are some of my buddies playing. Red Young, the Texas Horns, Hysterical Brian. I'm Pete Monfre. Let's get into the B2B marketing mindset. We'll can the music. I'm doing it slow so I can still hear it a little bit.
That's good. You should sing it for me, and then I can have, I can have the benefit of listening to that. So there you go.
That's a track from my 2018 album with the vocals removed. It's just the instrumental track for B.B. King's Christmas celebration. A little trivia there for you. But today we're going to talk about the difference between what I call appeasement marketing and results marketing. So you might have seen me discussing this with Jason Myers on the SaaS or actually it wasn't on the SaaS Backwards podcast. He does the SaaS Backwards podcast. It was on a podcast he and I were doing together. But we talked about this idea, and it was a few years ago, and it's such a massive idea. I think it should be discussed more often. And it's also, I think, at the root of a lot of very dissatisfied clients.
So what you're saying is that the client, so everybody that's in a marketing firm, advertising, PR firm, they should get their clients to watch this for this episode.
No, they might not want to, especially if they're appeasement marketers. They're going to be... their ass is going to be on fire. But
trigger warning.
I said a bad word again. So we don't want to get deplatformed. So we have to watch the language. But I think that a lot of clients think they're getting results marketing, but they're really just being appeased by the people that are experts around them that maybe they've hired or as internal or external people. But I always imagined an appeasement marketer hallucinating that the client is like a big old checkbook with legs, But first, let's welcome Bill Lowell, who I understand.
Hang on a second. Are the legs meaning that they could walk away? Is that what you mean?
They could walk away if they'd prefer the results-oriented marketing. But I understand you have very nice legs. You're not a guy that would ignore leg day, are you?
You know what? After having 2 hip replacements, I'm starting to wonder. So there you go. Maybe okay for an old codger,
Will you lay at the shore of Lake Michigan and let that Lake Michigan suntan hit those legs? I don't know. And I heard it makes you whiter.
You've been on Lake Michigan. I mean,
I have.
There's not a lot of sand there. I mean, a lot of shells and a lot of rocks. So
I just got whiter and whiter the longer I stood on the beach, and I can't figure it out. But here in Texas, we tan pretty well.
There you go.
I don't know if, how many people have thought about this in these terms. I mean, I'm not saying that these are types of marketing that you're going to read about in the AMA journal. But as ideas, there are 2 ideas. And it seems logical that all marketers, people you might hire or consultants, digital agencies, web developers, all of these subject matter experts that make your marketing run, that they would all be insanely focused on doing what's right for you, the client, right? I mean, that seems logical that they would be, right? But I don't see it. I don't see that being the case. Is that? Yeah. Have you had that experience?
I think that is I think it just depends on the situation. I think there are some that are probably really good that will do what's right for the client and will do the best. But I think there's a lot out there that, are just out for themselves or whatever. And then, it's a complex situation. I guess let's start with that. Because like we've talked about before, Pete, there are some clients that will say they want results, but they've got such a big ego that they can't handle it, that they just will demand what you do for them. And that's it. And they're not willing to listen. And so I can't fault other people for doing the appeasement when you've got a client like that. I think the bigger decision is, do you want to work with somebody like that?
Well, and I think, right before the program, we were talking about some ethical ways to deal with this issue. But I think that, I'm thinking of situations like we just had a client together that was paying, 6 figures, a good 6 figures a year to a small agency. And they had kept this agency for 10 years paying this kind of money. Oh. And the agency was failing the entire time. But I noticed the dynamic was the agency was kind of like a short order cook. So whatever wild hair, I want pizza with pineapple on it. They would just be like, "Great idea, sir. That is a fantastic idea, sir. Let's write that up, sir."
Yeah, you
Right?
are a genius.
You're a genius, sir.
We want to bring you on our team.
Well, and in the old days, that was called the yes man, right?
Yes, sure.
And so, so let's let's jump in here, starting off with, well, what do we mean by appeasement marketing? We have a little bit different definition. So I'm thinking of the classic yes man, where they're really interested in you, less in solving your problem and more in getting your money. And so, but can I make a moral judgment of that? In a way, I think it can be unethical, but in a way, I don't think that matters to the discussion. It's like, what approach, if you're a client, what are you looking for, right? Are you looking for someone to appease you, or are you looking for someone that's going to sometimes fight to bring you the results that you want? What do you want?
Isn't that true? And I think, we've seen it all, but I think like also appeasement could be, trying to make the client happy. So you're trying to do, it's a delicate balancing act, isn't it? Because sometimes the ideas that we have and what we want to do, which we know might be tried and true, it takes a lot to convince them to do things. And so you're trying, so you're just constantly going back and forth, and it gets, it's like being
Well,
on a ship, you're going to get seasick,
well, years ago, we have kind of a rule of engagement here at Clarity Marketing Support, where if we're spending a lot of our time trying to convince a client, we
Yes,
will walk away. And so we're dedicated to the result. We're going to talk about what is result marketing next, results
yeah,
marketing. Now, earlier, yesterday, I think I threw you a note and I said performance marketing in there. And I
right,
realized that, no, that's a different thing, but that's worth a future episode, because we do get a lot of folks asking us to work on a performance basis. In other words, do the work on the come, and then if
right,
it works, then you get paid. There's a lot of misunderstandings around this. Believe it or not, we love it, right? But once the client understands what performance marketing is, they usually hate it. They want it at first, then they hate it. But we're talking about results marketing. And really what we mean by that is, are you focused on appeasing the client? That would be appeasement marketing. Or are you focused on the result that the client is expecting?
right.
Um, and the appeasement thing, you mentioned this too. It's a slippery slope because clients tend to forget. Let's say that you said, Mr. Client, I think you're making a huge mistake. Do not buy $135,000 a month in Facebook ads.
Yeah,
That's a real thing that happened. Um, and then the client says, but I insist on this insane behavior, Bill.
yeah. Like I
Well,
said,
you did, and then maybe you fight one more time.
yeah,
I really think, sir, that this is a boondoggle. I wouldn't do it. I bet, yeah,
yeah.
nope, Bill, I insist that we walk this plank. Then I think you're okay. I think if they like you and they know you can do the work as well as they want, clients, uh,
I,
they're entitled to their experiment.
but it's like I told you though, you say it's okay, and I've done it, you've done it. I mean, that's usually my rule too. And you've mentioned a couple that I think are really good, but like you warn them a couple of times, or you make strong suggestions that that's not a good idea, and they still want to do it. But the saddest thing of all is you got to get it in writing then, because a year later they're going to come back and say when it doesn't work, oh, you know, you did
That
this for us and it didn't work. You guys are no good,
that
and so it's like
website didn't transform our lives.
exactly.
It didn't turn our company around. What?
It-
Hey,
so
but
that's the frustration, short memories,
short memories.
Yeah,
I think that this thing, it becomes a big idea because there's entire business models based on this idea, and the reason I
yeah,
wanted to talk about it too is because clients aren't doing this to themselves on purpose, right? They think that they're getting that partner is focused on the outcomes that the client
right,
wants.
right,
Um, And even if the client's not that good at stating what those outcomes are, it's really the agency or the consultant's job to make sure that those things are clear. Um, and I'm thinking more about where they absolutely, if it's just a colossally terrible idea, that they're thinking about their sales quota. And they're just like, hey, they're, never met a client with a checkbook that had a bad idea. That's really
Yeah,
that's what appeasement marketing is to me. And
it
it's
really is.
really to handle the client.
Yes. Yeah.
So do you want
And
to
I
be
and I've seen
handled
that,
or
and I've heard agencies tell me, okay, well, I guess we're just going to ride this out until it doesn't ride out any longer. So, I mean, that those are code words, meaning we'll do whatever they say until, they're so unhappy that they go somewhere else. Well, that's just kind of ludicrous if you think about
but
it.
I
And it's not good for the industry either, by the way. I mean, it makes the whole industry dial down a notch, which is really just sad, isn't it?
yeah, and I think that again, it's hard for me to make an ethical, moral judgment on the practice, right? I mean, it's like if you're a web developer, you're in the business of building websites, and if somebody
Yeah.
wants to build a website, it's not your problem if it's a stupid idea.
Yeah.
I think it's this the client needs to be on the same page
Right.
as to what the objective is. All right.
Yes.
Now, if that web developer has good insight into business and knows how to solve problems, and he says, I think a website would sincerely improve your situation. Hey, everything's all good, but know the difference between the two kinds of marketers and think about, are they just here for your money?
Right.
Are you the best looking guy in the bar because of your money, or is it because you have a partner who's working with you? We'll move to the next point to get to the result.
I
What do
love
you
that
want?
comment though. Best looking guy in the bar. Or are
Well,
you like a ex brother-in-law that I used to have that was not attractive, but he would in the bar, he would tell every woman that he was trying to pick up that he owned a Porsche and it was sitting outside. So I think
maybe that's a better
that exactly that's
that's
the
a better
trick.
analogy there.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
yeah.
you know, at least he probably knows what the shortcomings are.
He didn't know it
Um,
about him.
he didn't because he thought it was the
He,
car.
he let off with the car.
He loved the
That was
car.
he
It
did.
works though, I have to admit. Uh, Results. So what's the result? So let me like theorize. What does this look like? Like a results marketer. So Bill, you come to me and you say, this influencer thing is huge. Our
Yeah,
consulting firm wants to use TikTok to get these influencers, the 20 somethings, on board
right.
to hire our management, to introduce our management consulting product.
Yeah.
Appeasement marketer would say, Bill, that is a brilliant idea. What's the median age on that platform? Oh, it's
Yeah.
got to be guys in their 40s, 50s, 60s, right? Um, a results oriented marketer would probably gently say, that's a joke, right? Are you kidding? No, more gentle. I don't think that's a good idea, Bill. Are you sure? Tell me a little bit more about that. Why are you thinking that? And are you familiar with the demographics? And tell me a little more about what you're thinking. And let's say that client can justify that and he's got a good idea, right? Because clients do, by the way. I mean, it's a kind of rare when somebody's really like going off a cliff, at least if they're following a plan that we helped them build. But people do go off the cliff all the time. They have some
Oh,
shiny object. And it
right.
takes you off track, right? So the results marketers, really part of the job is to keep you on the track. Like, does this effort that you're thinking of or this idea that you have,
Right.
does it move us towards the objective or does it not? And
I
if it
I
doesn't, then it's their job to say that it doesn't.
right. I love that. That's almost along the same lines as the analogy is if you have a vision statement or a mission statement of an organization and somebody starts coming up with all these other ideas of where they want to take the company and you say, okay, or they want to buy this because of whatever, you go, okay, does that fit with our vision, our mission? And if
Right.
the answer is no, we're wasting our time. Same thing I think is true with what you just mentioned about our goals and objectives. Okay, if we've agreed to the goals, that's great. Hey, if it's in line with that, let's talk about it. But if it's not, maybe we revisit next year or another year. It's not happening this year, you know?
Well, and people do get this, like when they're thinking about things like defining a lead, and they'll
Yeah.
have a very good definition of that. But for some reason, marketing, this idea of definition goes away. But I think it's a fascinating thing because it's easy to lose track of what the results are if you're kind of running in a very loose way, I guess.
Right.
But so most people,
But
there's, let's say there's a specific objective.
yeah,
It's still okay if the client decides to do that thing, but your job, I think, as an expert, in a subject matter expert, is to make sure that they're making a very informed decision. And at the end of the day, it is their money. And so, but I think it's the level of resistance maybe that's different between the two. An appeasement marketer, there's no resistance at all.
right, right.
What nutty
Let's
thing are we going to do today, sir?
Okay, so let's back up for a second. I think what we've been talking about is at 30,000 feet. So the kind of the big picture. But let's bring it down almost to the ground level for just a second, okay? Along the same lines, let's say that they want to do an influencer. So the client comes to you and says they want to do an influencer. And let's even say that we've agreed to it as an objective. And so we think it's a good idea, but yet now we're at that level of an agreement, but who they want to select or how they want to go about doing it might be totally different, and so maybe it's the goal
That's
of whoever's in charge to say, hey, wait a minute, I like the idea, but we're not going about it right. So sometimes process is off track, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and clients often think that they're buying expertise like a short order cook or like something that they're calling a store and they're saying, hey, I want one of these, one of these, one of these. I mean, what if the guy down at Home Depot was like, yeah, I'm not so sure about that, you know? But
Your funeral.
it's your, yeah, buddy. Uh, I think buying expertise is different, and it you know, I would challenge a client to just like a client would challenge me, justify that in relationship to the objective, that we both agree on. Or, branding is another thing. You have a set of attributes and somebody comes up with a really creative, wild idea. Does it fit our brand or not? And if there's a level of regulation, where there's specific attributes, vision statement, mission, all of the things that document who you are and what you are,
Right.
either it fits or it doesn't, it gets a lot easier, right?
Yep.
And in our world, we're working off of a plan based on research. And so we kind of know what's going to fit and what's not. But I think of situations where the marketer clearly knows this is a terrible idea,
Yeah.
but doesn't say anything because they want the money. It's more important to get the money. And damn the consequences a year from now or 6 months or whenever we churn them, which is a term in the industry. But we don't want to churn.
That's just sad, and unfortunately, you and I, we've seen it too often. We've just
Well,
seen it too often, and you know what? It's kind of, even like I've said earlier, at the lower level, on the ground level, that client might have wanted to go out and build a website. That might have been their idea, and they actually go out and hire some company that does websites, but that company may not be the right fit for them. And they
right.
still, they're there to sell the website. So
They're
they're
to
not,
sell a website.
you
Yeah,
know,
they're going to be like, hold up a sec.
Yeah.
Let's talk. That never happens.
No.
But it does if you've got a good objective partner who has your best interests at the center of what they're doing. This is how you build a sustainable business. We've been in business a long time. And in fact, earlier we referenced that we even have gotten to the point where we definitely will walk away if we're put in a position where we have to do something that's bad for the client. But the rest of the world may or may not be like that. I think that's something to look for in a partner, is where they're focused, right? Do you never get any resistance? Are people just taking orders? Are you calling up the agency and being like, here's what I want to do? And you never get anything back? Maybe you're 100% right all the time, man. Maybe you're 98, but if you just if the agency is always saying, yes, sir, let's get that done, sir, we'll have that for you next week, sir. You got to start asking yourself, are these guys serving my best interest? Employees too, by the way, right? Plenty of yes people, yes persons in in the organization. So, hey, but let me remind everybody, you can subscribe at b2bmarketingmindset.com. Lots more content there. And we'll just say that real quick. We're on every platform imaginable, and it goes out live every Thursday, 11 o'clock Central, on a whole bunch of platforms. And there'll be some links down in the comments where you can find more of us. I would like to ask the audience to go to YouTube and subscribe to my channel, because I need about 20 more people to hit 1,000. 973 subscribers can't be wrong, right?
No,
But we need to
great.
get to 1,000 to monetize. So I hope people go there, follow us on YouTube. Is a good place. You get all the gorgeous video. So let's talk about, so actually we've been kind of talking about many marketers appease clients.
Right.
It's their business model, is it not? So how can a client like crack this code and know what they're getting?
Actually, that's a really good question. So, maybe you ask them a few behavioral based questions when you're hiring them. Tell us about a time that you worked with one of your clients where they suggested something and you went along with it, and then you get people to tell you, and then, oh yeah, we do that all the time. Oh, okay. Or ask them the percentage, like how often, if I had an idea, I'm the client, how often, if I had an idea that I came to you with, have you either accepted that idea kind of on merit or actually pushed back? Give me an idea on what was that percentage. I mean, even just those two questions might just give you some insight.
Just a second, I'm going to ask my boss. Can we push back? Is that a thing?
Yeah. But along those same lines,
or get to understand their business model and how do they make money? Do they make money by building things, or do they make money by thinking things? Right? It's the thinking things people that are going to really help you solve your problem. And if they have any sense of ethics at all, they're going to err on the side of what's good for the company. I always do it this way. I tell people this right up. Company hierarchy of, what's important, what's good for the company, what's good for the person I report to within the company, even on a personal level, what's good for them, then the company, then them, the team, pretty much everybody else. Customers in there somewhere, but it's kind of like there's a hierarchy of how to evaluate ideas.
God, country, company, person that you're working for.
Family in there somewhere.
There you go.
Car, I don't know, but it's there's definitely a hierarchy. But I think that both sides of the equation they're not thinking about this very much right now. If let's say that you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, we get paid to build stuff. What's wrong with that? Nothing, not a thing. But think about this: how much more customer loyalty would you have if you consistently did the right thing for them? If you asked a few more questions before just assuming that we're gonna go for this, or you go with a very open mind that maybe you're a fit for that project or that client, or maybe you're not. And if you're not, would you even go as far as to help them find a better fit?
Right.
If you're doing that, you're well on the right track to building a long, profitable business. I think you develop that reputation as somebody who's sincere about helping.
I've got two examples if I can share those with you. So
please do.
In one case, I have a really good client, very, very large accounting firm. Everybody hears of them, but they came to us with an idea and some thoughts and ideas of what they wanted to do. And quite frankly, I thought their idea was absolutely insane. And I thought their timeline was more insane. And I mean, it was just, as they were telling me, I was doing the best I could to hold back my laughter, because I thought, you guys are pretty intelligent people. You should know better. And I did exactly what you said. I said, this isn't a project for us. There's no way. And this will be a disaster for you. This isn't good for, and I went on and I sent them on their merry way. 6 months later, they came back to me and said, you were so right. We went with somebody else. They screwed up everything and we're back, And so sometimes I think doing that will be all right, So
I think it does come back to you. I'm thinking about a telecom company that I was working with a colleague and we were looking at their business model together. They were struggling, and we came back and we realized after a bunch of digging that their numbers didn't work. There's no way that we could get their numbers to work. Now we're marketers, but we still deal in numbers. And we came back and we said, our recommendation is, instead of paying us for the next 12 months, get out of this business, because if you continue going, you're going to lose $2.3 million. This is about half their revenue at the time. And they did not listen. So
I
they
love
ended
that.
up losing a lot more than that. We were wrong. We underestimated how much money they were going to lose.
Yeah.
They're no longer.
Get out of the business and put that money in the market, and you'll be doing better than what you're
This
doing
company
right now.
also had a subdivision that sold like socks on LinkedIn or on
wow.
Amazon. They sold socks and they did telecom. I'm like,
wow.
I don't understand.
That fits with the vision.
But anyway, so there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of motivation, and there's a lot of reasons that a lot of people will just try to appease you and take the money and run. And we're clean. I think one reason I'm passionate about this topic is we're always having to clean up the mess, to be honest. I mean, it's getting, and I feel bad for these clients that they thought they were getting, they were buying results, but they were just getting appeased.
Well, and sometimes, to your point, and to the point of the appeaser. So I'm gonna now debate on the side of the the appeasing marketing firms. Yeah. Sometimes it is frustrating, and I know you've had a client like that, and I've had a client like that. Sometimes when you, the marketing, advertising, public relations, fill in the blank firm, are working harder for your client than they're willing to do for themselves, that's an issue too. So then maybe you do just have to appease, because it's
or you can walk away. I mean, hopefully, if you have the most successful people I know walk away without a second thought.
Yes.
Right. Exactly. Because they've got a deck. They got people on deck that want to work with them. They've got a good full schedule. They're not, but you're not always like that, frankly, in business. Nope. Sometimes there are times that maybe you do have to take the business. I mean, I don't think there's any hard line here. But one thing I think is interesting is freelancers are often appeasers because it's easier to appease somebody. You don't have to have the sales skills. You don't have to work as hard to close a sale that you're just appeasing somebody, as opposed to how much work it takes to help somebody. Right?
Well, it's like you said, they're those cooks. They're order takers. Oh, you want some fried eggs? Beautiful. I can do that. You know what I mean? You want some bacon? I can do that. I'm doing that. But they're not going to say, oh, wouldn't you want to have a creative omelet today? No.
What are you missing out on? Right. Yeah. What are you missing out on? And especially if they're a real expert, you're not really getting your value from it. Now, if you're just paying Fiverr, you're not paying anything for it either. So who cares? And a lot of those people, that they are order takers. Except they don't even really take your order. A lot of times they just ghost you in the middle of a project. So are you, don't you get tired of gig workers that aren't ready for prime time? And is it worth the aggravation to save a few bucks? I say it's not. Yeah. Sometimes you need more professional work, consistency and reliability from your talent, right? From your creative talent. So if you need help with a website or email marketing or whatever, you need more professionalism, better work. Reach out to Heidi Acott, and we'll put her name down in the comments. She helps us produce this. And yes, I did segue into a commercial.
That's great.
It doesn't have to cost more. That's what I want to tell people. You can get that professionalism. You can get consistency. You don't have to worry if they're going to hang you up because they got a job. So my amazing wife, talk to her and she'll help you out. She makes us look good. That's all I can say.
And she makes all of her clients look good too, with their brands and what she can create. So
what was the hair club for men? I'm not just a client. I'm her husband. But she does. I mean, I guess we are a client.
And by the way, for anybody considering working with Heidi, she's very talented, but also very, very sweet and very nice to get along with. So I think everybody would enjoy working with her.
Unless it's a stupid idea. And probably not going to do it if it's, and what's stupid, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I still think there's a line where, I've said this to clients. I mean, I've said, hey, at the end of the day, our job is to make sure that you are making fully informed decisions, but it's your company. It's your business. right? You can make those decisions. Now, because of the guardrails that we put on ourselves in terms of the standards that we hold for our work and our clients and our industry, it might be that you can go ahead and do that thing, but we're not going to help you with it, right? But as long as everybody's on the same page, I don't think there's a problem here.
I had a client, they're a very, very large equine hospital, and they were insisting on doing some social media because that's what all their competition was doing. And they were wanting to pay some people to do some social media for them. And I kept on asking, why do you want to do that? Why, and I never got a good answer. And I always said, well, let's just do a quick research study and see if anybody among your clients would pay attention to this, and would they be interested in this? And the bottom line is it took about 2 years to convince them, because they still wanted to do it. They wanted to do it, and they were spending a ton every single month doing it. When they finally allowed us to do the study, what do you think we found out? Most of the customers never even cared about their social media, and they were pushing Facebook page and all this stuff, and they were like, no, we don't even look at that, So it's like you're wasting their money. It's like by doing some of that stuff, and yet somebody was appeasing them.
Well, and in that case, you're talking about betting whose idea, somebody, is this going to work or is this not going to work?
Right.
Now, if you're really an expert in your field, you have a pretty good track record of what works and what doesn't. But at the end of the day, you have two opinions.
Right.
A really well-run organization is going to say, hey, you know what? Before we jump off the cliff, let's walk down the foothill, do a little bit of research, make sure this is the right thing to do. See, now you're working strategically, and things start to make sense better. But I think that's still expectations, right? Like, before we do this, the partner still didn't say, sure, let's do it, let's write it up. There's a level of resistance there that I think you owe your clients. But it's not only what might work and what might not. Sometimes clients will do things that damage their company. Yeah. Because they're not experts in the subject matter of marketing, sales, whatever, management, consult, whatever it is. Finance, this happens all the time. Maybe they don't have the domain expertise, and they make big mistakes. Okay, but people don't think of marketing that way. Like, any marketing is good marketing. No, you can actually hurt yourself. Right. I'm sure that we have on occasion when we put our website up and have typos in it. People are like, but we find them eventually, right? But I think what clients. So the question is, if you're a client, if you're trying to hire any kind of, so let's take it out of the marketing realm. If you're trying to hire expertise, right? What do you want? What do you want? Do you want results, or do you want to be appeased? Right. Exactly. I'd rather work with a cranky person who, I warn people, my bedside manner is like Gordon Ramsay. That's and if that's not good, then let's not work together. But it doesn't have to be like that. But I think most people want the truth. They want someone to tell them the truth. They want your best professional recommendation. And they want you to look at it coldly and objectively, right?
I need to say this caveat, though. There are some, and we're talking B2B. There are some organizations, though, that might truly believe, as George Costanza from Seinfeld would say, if you believe it, then it's not a lie. But they might truly believe that what they're recommending for their client is in their best interest. Seriously,
Yes, true.
But it may not be, you know what I mean? So you got to do like you said, you got to do your due diligence. You have to find out. I still go back to saying, still use your instincts along the way too. So even though, listen to them and see what they say, and then you still have to make a decision. So it's like, don't do it blindly, I guess is what I'm saying. Because,
and you got to, and the fact is, you got to learn somewhere, right? So as a client, I'm going to try to choose people that are already past their learning phase. Right. I don't want you learning on my account, right? But I think this is a great topic, and it could, like most of our topics, can go a lot deeper. But that will be up. This will be up on the website tomorrow, b2bmarketingmindset.com. But let's hit to our final thoughts and go go from there.
Well, you want me to go with my final thoughts?
You can talk over the graphic if you want, I guess. No, that's all right. So final thoughts. Go ahead. Yeah, let's have you. I'm going to make you start.
You're going to make me start?
Well, you seem to have some final thoughts.
I just talked over the graphic, and I wasn't in our best interest of the podcast, and I've been pushed back.
In your defense, you can't see it. It must be hard for you because you are kind of in the dark. Like you can't hear a lot of the things that go on.
And I'm a visual learner too.
I hear everything, and see everything. So
I pay attention to the visual, so that's a problem.
Well, when I'm looking over here, I am listening, but I'm watching the program. So all right. So yeah,
so you're
what
saying,
do you think of this?
You're saying I have the advantage in this podcast because you have to pay attention to about 3 or 4 different things, and I only have to do.
I do.
I just have to comment.
It takes at least 2 of us and sometimes 3 of us to pull this off every week. So, and then 4 counting yourself. So, but yeah, what do you think of this idea? Was it worth talking about?
Oh, absolutely. And again, I go back to what I said in the beginning. I think it's a complex subject. I think if somebody is outright just pushing and taking orders, I think that that's wrong. I think if you're on the corporate side or if you're on the business side, you need to ask some really good questions and see what kind of person you're working with. Like you said, is it an appeaser or a results thing? But I also agree, there's times I think you need to really sit down and kind of agree on the objectives to begin with. And then once you agree on that, then you can get to what you're going to suggest. And I think that that's really, really important because I think if the client and the marketing firm or whoever it is, even if it's the VP of marketing, whoever is doing it, if they sit down and you agree on, what are the goals or the objectives, I think you're more than halfway there, Then it's a matter of, okay, now what are our recommendations to meet those goals? I think that that's going to be a safer bet with everybody than just kind of like you said, running with an idea. And
I think a lot of this comes down, around being on the same page. I think I'm thinking this clients. You're going to have to be the one to vet this issue because no one's going to tell you that they're a yes man, right? So maybe in a future episode we'll come up with a few guidelines on how to spot a yes man in the article, and we hope you'll come and join us again because we do this every Thursday. And Bill, thank you for doing it every Thursday. This is not easy, folks, and Bill has he's really stepped up, man. I'm crazy. People know this.
I'm a yes man. I'm a yes man. You say it, yes, we'll do it.
You bring a lot of value to the program, and I appreciate that. So, hey, go out there and subscribe, will you? Especially on YouTube. That's a vote that we're going in the right direction. So, thank you. Make a comment. Maybe you think we're idiots. I did get an email that called me a blowhard.
Oh wow!
A LinkedIn influencer blowhard.
Really?
I know, and I was just so excited that someone noticed. We'll see you next week, man.
Thank you.
You've been listening to the B2B Marketing Mindset with Pete Monfre and Bill Lowell. Add to the conversation by commenting, sharing, and liking. And don't forget to subscribe and check out the links in the comments. Learn more at b2bmarketingmindset.com.